My question comes down to the issue of affordability. We have a lot of questions out there, a lot of folks certainly in looking for where their children are going to go to school. The cost of that tuition is obviously first and foremost the first question you probably ask, maybe not the last consideration. But my question goes to the fact that the College Board has a ranking of states and by tuition and fees for four-year public institutions. And Pennsylvania is ranked at 14.9, whereas Ohio is 11, 11.3, New Jersey 14.5, Maryland 10, and West Virginia 8. But my question is, to expound on that, part of that is because Pennsylvania brings into its average Pitt, Penn, and Temple, the schools that also have much higher tuitions, and they are the state affiliated. They are not the full PASSHE system. And I will be asking this question later this afternoon when they are here as well, as to why their tuitions are so much higher in the same state as our state system. So my question goes to you as to the fact of a couple things. And we kind of get a bad rap with our state average because we have those higher schools that are state associated, state affiliated, brought into our average. Is cost the biggest issue that you're seeing with the declining population and those that are applying to schools, and why are we seeing this declining enrollment, and is the price point the biggest issue? Because we obviously are a good buy when it comes to when you take out the affiliated, the state affiliated that have higher tuitions than our PASSHE system. Why is it that we are seeing that declining enrollment, as well as the fact of our other states seeing the same declining enrollment?
So our enrollment exceeds that of other states. Okay. Our enrollment decline is clearly related to cost, affordability.
Okay.
It is primarily related to cost and affordability. I mean, I don't know how to put this any differently, so I'm just going to say what I know. So the gap between the Pennsylvania State System University net average price of attendance after grants and the state-relateds and the privates has collapsed over the last 8 or 9 years in a way that reflects the level of state funding. And I want to also argue that we have a lot to do to control our costs. Our costs have not been aligned with our revenues. I did some math. It's Chancellor math, so take it for that. You know, if we were to align our costs with our revenues, and we were to take all the savings and pour them into student tuition, we could lower our tuition by 8%, right? And average our costs out with our comparative group. If we were to average our state funding out with the nation, we would decrease our tuition, our total cost of attendance, by 22%. The real driver, right? So they're both drivers. It is important that we partner to address this situation. But I mean, again, I want to go back to the Higher Education Funding Commission testimony. This is about the economic health and well-being of the state of Pennsylvania. In order to keep the lights on in the economy, not to excel, just to keep the lights on, we somehow have to get the number of adults with some form of higher education, not just a bachelor's degree, it could be a welding certificate, it doesn't matter, up from where it is at 47.5% to 60%. There are not enough wealthy people left in the state to fill that gap. We have to do better with low-income students and with students of color, right? That the only way to fill the gap and the only way to do better with them is to make an affordable pathway into and through higher education.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly as the fact of an affordable pathway and the ability to pay for schools. And we had Afia in here yesterday, obviously dealing with school loans and indebtedness of our students. But my question would also be followed up as to the fact of, obviously, you're saying cost is the main driver, but yet there are hundreds of thousands of students that are picking these higher expensive schools, which in my mind would mean their debt's going to be that much higher when they come out of those schools. Why are they making that choice if cost is the main driver? If the cost was the main driver, in my mind, they would be picking one of the state system schools rather than a Penn State, which the tuition is much, much higher, or a Pitt or a Temple here in Pennsylvania. So is there what other driver is there that would
So I'm not necessarily
counter the cost?
I mean, I'm not necessarily sure. I think there's a lot going on, and cost is not the only factor. But you know, so I'm going to ask this as a question. So there I am. I'm a student. And I don't look at published price. I look at net average price, the price I'm going to pay as a student out of pocket, right? So if I'm offered a place at Penn State or a private, and the total cost of that place is $2,000 a year more than it would be for me to go to Pennsylvania State System University, will I take that $2,000? Will I pay $8,000 more for that degree? And remember that 8, 9 years ago, the delta would have been 8, 9, 10,000, right? So that delta has shrunk.
And that's good.
It's good, except it's good in one way. It's bad if you're from a middle-income family, right? So what's happening in higher education in the situation we're in Pennsylvania, in the state of Pennsylvania and a handful of other states, is that the reduction in state funding, and again, we need to do this in partnership, has led to a drift upward in the max. So what's happening is universities are getting the maximum amount of money they can get from every single student, which means that affordable pathways are lost in the state of Pennsylvania, which are going to come back and have a massive hit on the workforce. So
Well,
it's good if you believe, yeah, sorry, I'm going to leave it there.
All I would say, and my time is up, and I appreciate the only point that I want to put out there is the fact we can, I think with the work that you're doing, and I commend the opportunity to look for cost savings and efficiencies, and I think that the system is taking a great look at that, and we need to continue doing that, and we need to just, in any way we possibly can, encourage people with the system and how strong it is, and get that message out there that it is a good deal, and it is providing good workers for our state. Thank you.
Thank you.